Think Squad is made possible by AT&T, investing to bring wired and wireless internet to America's communities, because the future has always been our business. AT&T, your world, delivered. The American Honda Foundation, a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television's Think Squad project and committed since 1984 to improving science and math education for youth across America. To learn more, go to www.foundation.honda.com. And from contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thanks.
People say science can be a real drag. I say that's just because they don't have the right support. I'm Alexis. I'm the leader of the Think Squad. We help kids solve problems, all kinds of problems. I've got a good team. There's Christopher. He's my right-hand man. He doesn't say much, but he misses even less. If there's something worth knowing, it ends up on his clipboard. Then there's Cameron. She's a reporter for the school news. During her interviews, she always finds a way to slip in a few extra questions for me. And when it's time to test that hypothesis, that's where Gary comes in. If he's not building something, he's probably taking it apart. Luckily, Sam's around to make sure he doesn't blow his goggles off. But don't get to thinking we're here to do your homework for you. No way. We provide the method. You provide the conclusions. We'll even fire up the think tank to help you sort everything out. What's the think tank? Don't worry, you'll find out. Just call the Think Squad. There's no problem we can help you solve.
I've been looking all over for you guys. You guys should really think about investing in a headquarters.
Non-profit problem solving does have its drawbacks. Alondra is a former client before your time. It was a pretty messy case, but we cracked it in the end.
It's nice to have someone to call when the dog actually does eat the homework.
No, that was a mystery. So, what brings you in today?
I have a friend with a problem.
Problem? Good. What is it?
It's complicated.
Even better. Go on.
By complicated, I mean that her problem is that she doesn't know she has a problem.
What?
Alondra, you said you wanted to meet me here?
Sí, hola. Could you guys excuse us for a second?
Sure.
¿Se puede saber qué está pasando aquí?
Me di cuenta que tuviste un problema en la clase de biología.
Sí, todo fue un gran error. Lo bueno es que ya todo terminó.
Eso está chistoso, porque yo pienso que tu único error fue darte por vencida.
Ah, entonces por eso me pediste que trajera esto. Siempre te metes en lo que no te importa.
No, no es eso, de verdad. Es nomás que ellos te pueden ayudar.
Pero todo terminó. Además, no creo que tu clubcito de ciencias pueda hacer algo para resolver mi problema.
¿Problema? Grandioso. Problemas son nuestra especialidad. That's a problem.
It is?
Sí, I told you.
I don't trust things that don't plug in.
Oh, come on, this little guy's okay, but he does look awful. What's the story?
Well, listen to this. A few weeks ago, our new client, Isabel, was in biology class. They had just finished a unit on botany. Everyone was getting back their projects, bean plants. Isabel grew hers really well. Best in the whole class by a landslide. And she may have rubbed it in a little too much, because after her class, she got a challenge.
So if you're such a great gardener, then why don't you try growing something at home? That's what they said. I just couldn't back down.
Sounds like you can handle it.
Yeah, well, in class, yeah. But in my neighborhood, it's a dump. It's gross, it's right downtown, and it probably hasn't been tended in like a couple centuries. No one could grow anything in there.
How can you be so sure?
Trust me, I tried. These are all the proof I need. I don't know why this should surprise you. She was right around the corner from me.
Really?
Could I hit pause here for a second? So Isabel was the best farmer in science class, and yet she still can't farm beans in her own backyard?
Not beans.
Not beans?
Not beans. Corn.
Corn?
Corn.
Why would you say corn?
I don't know. I just picked the most harmless plant I could think of. I think I remember mi abuela saying she grew it in our garden. Or was that cabbage? Anyway, it doesn't matter now. I learned my lesson.
I think there's still hope for this little guy yet. He just needs a little support.
So does Isabel, and we're gonna need every step of the scientific method to help her fix her garden. You guys know the drill. Observe, hypothesize, experiment, and conclude.
All right, so where do we start?
Iowa.
A little closer to home.
Looks like I just found this week's lead story.
Rain or shine, indoors or outside, we're keeping you up on the scientific world around us. Hello everyone, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Roland. Thanks for tuning in. And your Y News update starts right now.
Cats and dogs, oil and water, homework and sunny days. Let's face it, some things just don't go great together. But if you think, gardens and cities fall into that category as well. Think again.
Ever thought about how far the fruits and vegetables you eat have to travel to get to you? Oranges from Florida or bananas all the way from Ecuador. That's a farther trip than most of us will ever take in our lives. But there are tons of foods that can also be grown right here in Michigan. And a lot of people are doing just that in some very unexpected places.
In fact, we're in the middle of one of the largest gardening networks in the entire U.S. Every summer, thousands of people tend to gardens all across Metro Detroit. And just about all that food ends up in markets or on local tables right here in the state.
Many of these gardens are in places you'd never expect. Some of them looked like junkyards a few years ago, but with some hard work and a little scientific know-how, that's not the case anymore.
So how did they do it? And what happens when things just don't grow? Well, that's when the tough questions need to get asked. And for that, we turn to our on-the-scene Y News reporter, Cameron.
Thanks, guys. I'm here at Romanowski Park in Southwest Detroit. It's one of many community gardens all over Detroit where people come together to grow fresh and healthy food. It may not look like it, but there's a lot of science that goes into this, and I'm here to meet with someone who knows all about it. This park was created by the Greening of Detroit and many other community partners. It has a 2-acre community farm plot, a fruit tree orchard, and many other features. At the farm, I met agroecologist Jeremy Mogtatter. Jeremy grew up in Michigan and studied at the University of Michigan, where he got a master's degree from the School of Natural Resources and Environment, focusing on the ecology of agricultural systems. Jeremy is a college instructor and runs the Student Organic Farm at Michigan State University, where he teaches people how to be organic farmers. Pretty groundbreaking stuff, but I wanted to dig a little deeper. So, what exactly is it that you do?
I run the Student Organic Farm at Michigan State University, and at the farm I coordinate an educational program where we teach people and students how to be organic farmers. And when I'm doing that, I'm teaching them all about the ecology of where our food comes from and how to take care of the land and the soil that helps provide us with our sources of food, and teaching them a lot of different skills about how to take care of those resources and grow food for our.
All right, so how hard is it to grow plants in downtown Detroit?
Well, it's actually not really any harder than it is to grow plants a lot of other places. You can see that we're in the middle of this beautiful garden here at Romanowski Park, and they're growing Swiss chard and arugula and lettuce and tomatoes and asparagus. There's also basil, and over there they have broccoli and collard greens. And they're growing all of that food, and they're using it to go to, some of it to the community members, some of it to the local school, and then some of it they sell at the market, at Eastern Market in Detroit.
So what does a plant need to grow?
Well, a seed basically needs three things. It needs sun, and it needs water, and then it also needs healthy soil that's going to provide it with the nutrients and the organisms to help provide those nutrients that it's going to need to grow.
All right. And you talk about nutrients and organisms. What are those?
Well, let me show you.
Okay.
So you asked me about nutrients and microorganisms, so I brought you over to this compost pile to show you about that. In my hands of this healthy living soil, there are over 6 billion microorganisms. That's as many people as there are on the planet. And you might wonder what they're doing in there. They're running around and they're eating organic matter, which is dead plant material like this grass here or these leaves. They're eating that. They're also eating each other. So it's a complicated food web that's going on in there, and that's what's making a healthy soil ecosystem.
Oh, so what if some of these nutrients are missing in some sort of soil?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons that nutrients could be missing from the soil, and the major nutrients that the plants need, it needs nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. And some of those nutrients could be depleted from a soil either because you weren't treating the soil well, you were overly tilling it, or adding too many fungicides or pesticides that were damaging the soil microbial activity, or you could be over farming it and taking crops off again and again without putting nutrients back into the soil. In order to avoid that, you want to do certain practices like rotating your crops, which means not growing the same crop in the same place year after year. It's really important to remember that we're trying to feed the soil and not just to feed the plant. And there's a saying that people sometimes say, which is healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy people.
Interesting. So what are some ways you can tell if your soil is healthy or not?
Yeah, there's a couple of easy ways that you can tell just by interacting with your soil by looking at it. You're looking for it to have a nice, deep, dark, rich color, so a dark brown or almost a black color, and you can see that this soil in this compost pile has that nice, really deep, dark brown color, and that dark color is contributed by organic matter. Another thing that you can do is smell it, and it should smell, and this is gonna sound strange, but it should smell earthy. It should smell like, it shouldn't smell weird or funky or stinky, it should just smell like the earth. It should smell, you know, like a pleasant, earthy, musty kind of smell. Besides just looking and smelling and feeling the soil, you could also have a soil test done in a laboratory, which would check for things like pH, which is how acid or basic the soil is, or you could also check for your micronutrients and your macronutrients through a chemical extraction test that would tell you how much nitrogen or phosphorus that you actually had in your soil. And both of those are really good tools for seeing how healthy your soil is.
Well, you heard it here on Y News. Raising agriculture may look easy, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. So no matter where you live, why not take a shot at filling your dinner plate with something from the garden? You never know, you could become an ecologist and bring healthy agriculture to everyone, everywhere. For Y News, this is Cameron.
Have you ever been wrongly accused? Do you have a hard time convincing people you're telling the truth?
But I wasn't cheating.
Do you need someone to prove your case?
You better think good.
When I had thought I found a meteorite in my backyard, everybody thought it was crazy. But the Think Squad believed me. And now I know that millions of years ago, Michigan had a meteor shower.
Think Squad, making a believer out of you.
There's no problem we can't solve. Contact us with Think Squad.
¿Todavía estás enojada conmigo?
Tal vez.
Pues Think Squad tiene unas pistas muy buenas que te pueden ayudar a descubrir por qué no puedes crecer elote en tu jardín.
Mira, aprecio tu ayuda, pero creo que tu clubcito de ciencias debería encontrar otro misterio que resolver. Acéptalo, no hay manera de crecer otra cosa más que hierbas y zacate en nuestra cuadra.
Tal vez, pero hay más que eso. Estarás sorprendida. Nomás un favor, este cuarto a las 3:30. It's where you make your hypothesis.
I'm just gonna pretend like this means something to me.
It will. You'll see.
Glad you decided to show up.
Well, I could tell you guys are really fired up to help, and that's great, but to be honest, I don't see much of a mystery in my case.
Well, looks can be deceiving. Think tank, start.
Whoa, this thing makes a hypothesis.
No, it just helps with the facts. You're in charge of the hypothesis.
Hypothesis, a tentative explanation for a problem that is used as a basis for further investigation.
Thanks. So we have to come up with a theory for why I can't grow corn in my garden before we can start to investigate?
Exactly.
So we're just guessing.
To guess, to form a definite opinion about something without enough evidence to make a definite judgment.
Think of it like this. A guess is like the ending. And on the other hand, a hypothesis is just the beginning. Think tank, load soil report.
In order to develop successfully, plants need light, water, nutrients, and healthy soil. These are the basic building blocks necessary to make it possible for photosynthesis and plant growth to take place. It is also very important that the soil be full of microorganisms and organic matter and be free of toxins, especially if the plants being grown are meant to be eaten.
So the soil can't be toxic. Case closed. Thanks for your help. See you around.
What?
You heard it. In order to grow, the soil can't be toxic. And trust me, where I live, it's toxic.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's overgrown and weedy, and some of the lots are abandoned. I had to move an old hubcap before I could even plant my corn.
All good clues, sure, but what does that really tell you about the quality of the soil? Think tank, what's the most effective way to know if the soil is toxic?
There are a number of tests that can be performed to analyze soil composition. A healthy plant requires soil rich in organic matter. Billions of microorganisms in the soil feed on this organic matter, and one of the results of this process are the nutrients plants need to survive. An analysis of a number of uncontaminated samples from the site in question can give a good idea about the existence of these nutrients, thus the microorganisms, thus the quality of the soil.
See? Aren't you at least a bit interested in knowing if there's more to your story?
Fine, I'll get you your samples, but what are you gonna do with them once I do?
Me? Nothing. But I know just the person for that kind of work.
Somebody order a bucket of dirt?
Oh, yes, please. Put it like right over here.
For once I got to carry something I didn't have to worry about spilling.
But you were careful with it, right? If that soil sample was contaminated by any outside agents, we won't get an accurate measure of the soil in Isabel's yard.
Don't worry about it. Hasn't left my sight since she gave it to me. It was a big hit at lunch.
I'll bet. Let's get to it. All right. Now, this tray is filled with 20 samples from Isabel's yard. Now, it's important to get many small samples so you can get an accurate look at the entire area. So how would you describe that?
Well, the first thing I notice is that it's very dry and powdery. And when it's not in these dry powder forms, it's in these weird nodule forms.
Okay, good. Now, what about this one? How does it look? How does it feel?
Well, this one's much darker, and even though they feel about the same dryness, this one's not nearly as clumpy.
Good. Now, one more thing. Smell it. Go ahead, drink it in. How does that smell?
It smells like earth.
Exactly. I brought this sample out to show you an example of healthy soil. Because of the large amount of organic material in good soil, it's usually dark, chunky, and has that distinctive smell, like when you walk through the woods after it rains.
So if these are both soil, then this one must have something in it that makes it smell.
Exactly. See, this is an organism called actinobacteria, and it's extremely important in the decomposition of organic materials. It breaks down dead plant and animal matter and replenishes the supply of nutrients in the soil. These bacteria grow in soil when the conditions are damp and warm. When the soil dries out, the bacteria produces spores, which allow it to reproduce. When it rains again, the spores are carried off the ground by the moisture in the air, which we then breathe in.
So that fresh smell of the woods after it rains is really us breathing in billions of tiny bacteria spores?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Right?
So, we've established that this really isn't exactly the best quality soil, but can we get more specific?
I thought you'd never ask. This is a soil testing kit, and you can get one just like it at any garden supply store. It's a real easy way to test your soil for important nutrients and pH level.
But isn't pH important in, like, chemistry? This is gardening.
Well, pH measures the acidity in soil, and all plants thrive in certain soils.
And what's an ideal pH for corn?
Ideally, between 6 and 7. Though some quibble it should be between 6.3 and 6.8, just short of a neutral pH.
Well, what's a tenth of a pH between friends?
Let's just get to the sample, shall we?
Our pH test revealed that the pH of this soil is somewhere between 6.5 and 7. I'd say toward the 7 side, so 6.8.
Okay, that sounds good. Now let's test for the nutrients. This is a test for phosphorus. A lack of this nutrient can cause stunted growth and seed sterility. A plant with healthy level of phosphorus will yield more seeds and fruits and will be more resistant to disease.
The results for our phosphorus test indicated a surplus of phosphorus.
And finally, this test is for nitrogen. Nitrogen is extremely important for a healthy plant. Without it, leaves are stunted and yellowed. Nitrogen is responsible for producing leaf growth and green leaves.
And our nitrogen test came back deficient. Say, what were those effects of nitrogen deficiency again?
They're stunted, yellowed, and eventually shrivel up.
We have a winner. After much careful experimentation, we found that while the soil lacked many of the qualities that make up a healthy soil, the acidity, alkalinity, phosphorus, and potassium levels were all at acceptable healthy levels.
What? Healthy?
Well, the one problem we did find was with the nitrogen.
Problem? What problem?
Javis. Go on.
Well, it's the most likely reason why you couldn't grow anything in that area. That particular area is almost completely devoid of nitrogen. It's impossible to grow just about anything there. In fact, it's impressive that you kept the seedlings alive as long as you did.
Sorry to put you through all this. I guess sometimes things aren't exactly what they seem after all.
Actually, in this case, they're not what they seem.
Isabel, I don't know. Sometimes the facts are just, well, the facts.
You're right and wrong. It all depends on how you look at it. Is the think tank available for a few more questions?
I bet you never ask.
Think tank, what are some of the ways that the soil can be depleted of nitrogen?
The most likely explanation for nitrogen depletion would result from not replenishing the soil with compost or other organic matter and by not rotating crops in a field.
Think tank, define not rotating crops.
A crop has absorbed most of the nutrients in the soil. It then is necessary to plant a group of plants which use different nutrients in the previous crop so that they too can grow healthy and strong. This is the benefit of crop rotation.
Hey, remember when I told you my grandma told me she used to grow vegetables in that garden? Well, she was telling the truth. It's not polluted.
It was over-farmed. Growing too much of the same kind of plant made the soil unusable. So we're right back where we started. The soil is dead.
Not even close. Listen to this. Think tank, what is the best way to revive a garden that is low on nutrients?
The best and quickest way to repair soil to its former healthy state is to incorporate organic matter in the form of compost so that the equilibrium of the soil ecology is restored.
It may take some time, but I'll turn my yard into a garden, eventually. Thanks for helping me figure this out.
¿Pa qué son las amigas?
Supongo que las amigas y los jardines son iguales.
¿Por qué?
Porque en las dos cosechas lo que siembras.
Scientifically speaking, I call that a very soft conclusion.
Congratulations.
For what?
You're now part of the Think Squad.
Think Squad is made possible by AT&T, investing to bring wired and wireless internet to America's communities, because the future has always been our business. AT&T, your world, delivered. The American Honda Foundation, a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television's Think Squad project and committed since 1984 to improving science and math education for youth across America. To learn more, go to www.foundation.honda.com. And from contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thanks.